And happy Thursday. Welcome for our collective conversation series this month. Thank you all for your patience. I know we're starting about 5 minutes late. Honestly, I had some technical difficulties, and hopefully, we don't have that issue for our conversation today because it's a good one. If this is your first time joining us for Collective Conversations, well, welcome, warm welcome. I am Taisha Ty Wilson. I serve as the Director of Engagement here at Philanthropy Together, and we are a global initiative to democratize and diversify philanthropy through the power of collective giving. And so we host these monthly inspiring and trending series conversations each month with thought leaders to talk about various different issues. And so this month is centered on all things women and girls. Hello, ladies. I have a phenomenal group of leaders, y'all, joining us for our conversation today. In support of Give to Women and Girls Day, y'all, which if you do not have it marked on your calendar, you should. It's on October the 11th. Now, our conversation today is very important, y'all, because in addition to this being a conversation in support of Give to Women and Girls Day, which is going to be next month, it's just timely, right? Women and girls, our issues are really receiving a lot of attention. We are still facing significant disparities as it relates to charitable donations and philanthropic support that is hindering access to women and girls receiving essential resources, opportunities, and empowerment. And so shout out to all of the amazing people that are at the Women's Philanthropy Institute, WPI. They have been thought leaders in helping us to really unpack the disparities in reports and such that show us in ways and how we need to all kind of band together to bridge these gaps that we clearly see in the funding to support women and girls. And so all right, so we're going to get started. So let me introduce our panelists, and then we will jump into the conversation. My might come off screen, so at least y'all can be able to hear me. Welcome, Rena Geifinger with the Maverick Collective, Beverly Francis-Gibson with Together Women Rise, Jeannie Infante Sager with the Women's Philanthropy Institute, and Sarah Haacke Byrd with Women Moving Millions. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here for this conversation today.
Thank you.
All right, so let's jump into it. Jeannie, I want to start with you for a second, so that y'all to give y'all all women. Your organization got involved into I think let's start there, ladies.
Yeah, sounds good. I think I know what you said. You were cutting in and out, but I think what I want to share and what you asked about was how the Women and Girls Index even came about. So the Women's Philanthropy Institute has long wanted to measure giving to women's and girls organizations, and then to be able to compare this giving with that of other nonprofit subsectors like arts and education and the environment. And so we were able to develop the Women and Girls Index, which we lovingly call the WGI, to provide those who study and, more importantly, practice philanthropy, along with policymakers and the general public, with a better understanding of the full landscape of women's and girls organizations, including the amount of philanthropic support that they receive from individuals, foundations, and corporations. And so the WGI is actually the only systematically generated comprehensive index of charitable organizations that are dedicated to women and girls in the United States. And it can help us identify trends in philanthropic supports for these organizations over time. So we're really thrilled to have that. Now, we released the first WGI in 2019 and learned for the first time that giving to women's and girls organizations was less than 2%. Fast forward every year since 2019, we have not been able to go over that benchmark, that less than 2% benchmark. So last year, kind of in an effort to help certainly bring this to attention, to broader attention, we decided to spearhead a Give to Women and Girls Day. And so we're really, really fortunate to bring along some anchor partners to help us amplify the work, and also to connect with the close to 50,000 organizations that are part of the WGI, to one, let them know that the WGI exists, and then and how they could use the research that we know about how women give and women as donors can connect with how they can raise more money for their organizations. So we were thrilled to be able to pair that with a giving moment, which we hope becomes a movement, because we found out as we were planning for Give to Women and Girls Day that there wasn't already a giving community that existed focused on giving to women and girls in particular. So really thrilled to be able to get to spearhead that for a good reason. I'm wondering if Ty is back.
I'm still here, y'all. Y'all just have to deal with my beautiful headshot face or for right now until.
Well, it's just as beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Jeannie.
And I think I answered the question that you were going for.
Yes,
Great.
You hit it right on the head. I wanted you to for sure open us up because the WGI is super duper important. And also, I wanted you to run back that statistic real quick for the people in the back, because y'all, that is why we're here. Because that too, Jenny, say it one more time. How much money?
1.9%. So close to $8 billion last year, and we'll have a new number on October 11th when we release the most updated WGI in conjunction with Give to Women and Girls Day. But it remains less than 2% of all giving in the United States is received by organizations that primarily serve women and girls.
Oof. Well, we are all working together to bridge that gap, and I know Beverly, Together Women Rise, you all are not only doing amazing work right here in the United States, but y'all support international, global efforts to support women and girls. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Together Women Rise, and then I also want you to share a little bit about. Tell us about the consequences of those disparities on the lives of women and girls that you're seeing within your organization worldwide.
Definitely. Thank you, Ty. So Together Women Rise was started 20 years ago by two women who decided that it would make sense to invite women to their homes in lieu of spending money at dinner. And they actually passed the hat and collected $730 that they then made a grant to an organization globally. We currently have over 350 chapters across the United States. And all of the money that is donated to Together Women Rise supports women and girls globally. We are actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, and have gifted or made grants totaling over $11 million to 260 projects in 70 countries around the world, impacting the lives of women and girls. What happens when we're not doing that, and others, like the organizations that are on this dais, are not doing that, is that we recognize that the lives of those women and girls that we're supporting aren't flourishing, and they're not empowered to be all that they can be. We recognize that gender equality is not only a fundamental and basic human right, but it is a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future, not only for the girls, but for their communities, for their families, and for everything that we envision for them. So, empowering girls from the start is proven to have a lasting and compounding benefits over the course of their lives and for multiple generations. And we know that girls are the experts of their own experiences, priorities, needs, and a powerful catalyst for the world when given the opportunity to do so. So I am excited that the work that all of us collectively are doing is moving the needle, albeit not as quickly as we would like. But I think that is actually what encourages us to keep fighting and to keep moving forward.
Absolutely, Beverly, and thanks for sharing that. And to your point, yes, we got to keep fighting. We have to um continue to work together to bridge those gaps. And we have an actual question in the chat that actually I was going to ask anyway, because before we can even continue to work together to bridge these gaps, y'all, we have to even understand why they exist in the first place.
Exactly.
Rena, I really feel like you can speak a lot a bit about that, your organization, the Maverick Collective. Why don't you share more about your organizations and what do you feel is contributing to these disparities? Is it gender, such as gender biases and stereotypes or lack of awareness? One of our audience members wanted to know, but I'm sure all of us are trying to understand, why is that pie, Jeannie? Like, why is that number not moving? Even after all of these years, like why are we not moving the needle on that? Rena, why don't you share a little bit more about that?
Oh, thank you so much. And it's amazing to be here with wonderful sisters in this work and who I love and admire so much. So I lead the Maverick Collective by PSI, which is a community of women donors who are making catalytic investments in global health and reproductive rights to advance gender equality. We're celebrating our 10th year, so I feel young compared to you, Beverly, but we're really excited to celebrate a decade of work. We were co-founded by Population Services International, which is a global health organization with Melinda French Gates and the Crown Princess of Norway, to really build a space for women philanthropists to not only fund innovations in global women's health, but to engage deeply in the work that they were funding so that they could become more informed champions for gender equality. They could be taken seriously at tables of power. They could use their full range of capital, their social capital, their intellectual capital, their curiosity capital to really advance the space. There are so many barriers. We could spend an entire hour just talking about the barriers. And I think that we are still operating within a patriarchal system, which is embedded across every system, right? The system of philanthropy is patriarchal. I borrow from a colleague, Darren Issam, who says philanthropy is still male, pale, and stale. And even though we are us women and we get to mobilize like the most progressive, badass women donors out there, we're still such a tiny, tiny slice of the wealth and the power and the potential for philanthropy, but we're tiny still. And so it's always so encouraging to be in these circles, and also sometimes a stark reminder that there's a much bigger circle out there. I think that there's still a lot of reticence to fund things that take a long time, like changing gender norms, and constructs, and trying to change culture. That's decades, multiple decades of work, and it's very hard to get funders, particularly individuals and families, to invest in long-term change where you don't see big impact right away. It's much harder to measure. You've got still this culture and history of people wanting to fund universities and hospitals, and these things are so important, but they aren't often in line with what's happening at the grassroots and what movement leaders and grassroots leaders, and particularly women leaders, are asking for. And so there's just a disconnect. I'll stop there, but I think there's a lot that others on the panel can add to.
Did anyone else want to add anything to that? Sarah, I know you have some thoughts. Women moving millions, you all are out here moving millions into causes that support women and girls, which we love and appreciate you all so much for. But just wanted to hear your voice as well as what you think about what's contributing to these disparities. And also, even we'll talk a little bit about that intersectionality piece as well, but let me start there first with you, Sarah.
Well, I'm just really honored to be with you all today. And this is just the most important conversation we could be having in this moment in time. And I just want to also thank Jeannie for having the wisdom and the leadership to anchor a moment in time during the calendar so that we could bring attention and awareness to the fact that the money isn't flowing in the way that we'd like it to be to support women and girls and gender expansive people. Women Moving Millions is a philanthropic community. We're about 15 years young. And we have about 400 women philanthropists who are part of the community who make $1 million commitment, time horizon over up to 10 years, specifically to women and girls or gender equity work. And since our founding, originally as a camp, which was to strengthen the women's funding movement and networks of women's funds in 2007, our community has moved about $1 billion to women and girls. So really proud of that history of asking women philanthropists to step into their leadership, to be big and bold with their giving. And, I think some of, I 100% agree with everything that everybody has said. I think that Beverly laid the case really well, which is that the research is just out there. We don't need to invest in another research study that shows
That's right.
the efficacy of giving to women and girls. And if you're serious about social change, you should be directing the money to women leadership and organizations that are working to support the empowerment of girls. So I think the research is totally there. And then, Rena, I'm still laughing, male, pale, and stale, because it's in the chat. And of course, we're as a sector, as a philanthropic sector, we've been having these conversations for the last several years, really about thinking about de-siloing our work. And Taisha, you brought up intersectionality. I mean, I think given that we know that applying a gender lens to philanthropy and to social change is incredibly important, as we think about the intersections, and we think about how, as we're trying to solve these really complex social issues that, all these compounding factors that make it so incredibly complicated, just even thinking about climate, we need to be able to center women and girls in that social equation strategy. So I just want to double down on what everybody said. And then, I think the other piece too is, at Women Moving Millions, we believe in really the power of convening. And I think that's something Philanthropy Together has so powerfully modeled, is bringing giving circles together across the country and probably globally. I mean, it's just such a movement. And there's such an enormous power, as Rena said, when we come together with our expertise, our wisdom, and our both financial and social resources and capital that we can apply to the problems that we're trying to tackle. So, I believe in the work that we're doing here around, this is what I call the resource advocacy that we need to be doing to say, move the money, apply the gender lens. And I would love to see more of the really big institutional funders think about how they're prioritizing and mainstreaming gender across their entire portfolios.
Yeah, well said. I'll just add real quickly to that question, Ty, if that's okay, that in general, what causes kind of these changes to giving to women's and girl organizations, really because we've been able to track this now for over several years. these shifts occur either because of specific donors, meaning that there are individual donors who can have an outside influence on this relatively small charitable subsector. The second reason is that sometimes there are challenges and there are changes actually in philanthropic strategies on how donors give to women and girls. So there's been a lot of talk in the last several years about trust-based philanthropy, which we know giving circles have been doing for a very long time. And then there's also corporate philanthropy that has come in. So there's been some in the last several years. Sometimes that influx influences the size of the pie, how much money is going out. And the last thing that really influences kind of changes in the amount of money that comes into and for women and girls are specific events. So if we think about we think about 2016 and the Women's March, fast forward 2018, the Me Too movement. And then as we begin to look at 2020, of course, and 2019, we've had COVID-19 and the disproportionate effect that it had on women and families. And more importantly, and then also as we think about the summer of 2020 and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. So those kinds of things have outsized impact on funding to women and girls.
Would you say too that
intersection is important?
Yeah. Would you also say that who controls the purse strings determines where the money's going and how much? Because we know that men tend to die younger or earlier than women do.
Yes, they do. We often say that, women are expected to inherit 70% of the wealth, the transmission of wealth over the next 2 generations. And women tend to inherit twice. So they'll inherit from their parents, and then they'll inherit again from their spouse. So it's why it's really important to kind of think about how to activate women as donors, and especially not only as we think about philanthropy together and giving circles, but also at trying to dispel this myth that women don't make big gifts. So Women Moving Millions and Maverick Collective are really important in this ecosystem because they are providing confidence and inspiration for women to be bold and really invest in systemic change in big ways.
Indeed.
Super good points, y'all. That intersectionality is so important because, and that's really why I included, I was very mindful of who I brought into that conversation, because it's going to take everyday philanthropists like mama fives like me that don't have quite $1 million to move just yet. Yes. As well as those at the top, that have that level of capacity to give. Yes. But because the truth of the matter is the power of our collective lies in the diversity of the people that are a part of it. And all of us included here in this box and all of our audience members, y'all, we all have a role to play in this. And the urgency is real. And Rena, you brought out that urgency in our prep call. You were like, no, the world is on fire. We need people to activate now. Yes. And so, y'all, that's really ringing true. And we hope that y'all, that just with all of the statistics that Jeannie shared and all of us, that y'all are really feeling the urgency on why we all need to see ourselves as part of this movement to bridge those gaps. And being a part of a collective giving group is a sure way for us to amplify that impact when we work together.
Yeah, I wanted to just add too, I think, because I know we talked about this, that in the space of organizations like Together Women Rise and other giving circles, we want our members to understand that you don't have to have $1 million to make a difference, that you could be a part of. And that also helps to magnify the work and the giving that we're doing around the world to help women and girls. So I just wanted to reinforce that.
Definitely, Beverly. Appreciate that. I did want to go back a little bit into advocacy with you, Sarah, because at the same time, we have this, world on fire. We are all doing the things to the funding piece. There are blatant attacks on our rights across this world on women and girls. And so advocacy reigns supreme in my heart right now to just talk about it up front, because that is also something that's also a uniqueness of these collective giving groups, because it's not just about the money. It's not
Yes.
about just moving money, y'all. A lot of us, Maverick Collective, a lot of collective giving, my giving circle, Heritage Giving Fund, we're doing advocacy work, that testimonial piece, to the policy advocacy is also equally important in this work. And so, Sarah, Women Moving Millions, you all have some pillars and some initiatives around that I wanted you to speak about, and how it's promoting gender equality in philanthropy and charitable giving.
Sure. I would love to talk about that. So, part of our one of our strategic imperatives is to advocate for greater investment in gender equity work. So that's the heart of who we are, in addition to our community. But we really see ourselves, I think, as an organization, in addition to being this really vibrant membership community, we also see ourselves as being in service. And so, how we can serve, in addition to asking our members to, give not just lead, but the quality of the funding, I think, also really matters. But to we have this positional power, and the ability to use our to amplify and to use our microphones to say, like, the status quo of giving isn't enough. And we need to look at where all the money is moving within various sectors, like I had mentioned, institutional dollars, for instance, and ask for better, right? And for more people to be investing in this space. So we spend a lot of time in rooms with people who haven't really thought about the gender component to their giving, and to talk about why that matters, why it's important, why, again, it's an effective social change strategy. And I come to this work myself as part of my own personal journey to philanthropy was as an advocate. I spent the years before I came here working in the violence against women space, specifically advocating to reform the criminal justice system's approach to how they deal with the victims of sexual violence. So I've been on the front lines. I know how hard it is to raise money. I know how misogyny is embedded in all of these structures and how critical philanthropic resources are for the leaders on the front lines to reform those systems. And so I really bring my advocate hat into this work. And advocacy is all about using your voice in the most powerful way in rooms where maybe not everybody's able to get into it, and hold people accountable and say that this inequity is not enough. Where does it come from? Let's get really deeply, and how we can come together collectively to solve this problem.
And I'm glad that you said advocacy is using your voice, because that's something we all, we all have a voice. And sometimes when we think about policy and advocacy, we don't. We think advocacy is, another form of it is reaching out to your council members and writing letters and making calls and such like that. But it's as simple as you just opening your mouth to speak truth to power about the things that you're passionate about, what you're saying, and bringing your people with you to join in. So,
Yes.
And Sarah, I do want to just lift up that I love that you mentioned that your background is in advocacy and just a criminal justice piece, because that is a very underfunded cause. And there are so many sisters that are in that system.
Yes.
And so I just want to just speak that out, y'all, in terms of just criminal justice reform. That is people do not like, donors do not like to fund those kind of initiatives. And even we all need to advocate for our sisters and people, brothers too, that are wrapped up in that system, that they clearly need more funds flowing there. So thank you for even lifting that up. All right, so I did want to talk about, we often hear this saying that's like, nothing without us nothing for us without us, right? And so that's the importance of us. We can't be too top heavy, y'all, where we lose sight on engaging and the importance of engaging with the local communities that are doing the work. I know I can speak for all five of us here that we are very passionate about supporting and being mindful and thoughtful of how we are supporting those that are already been in those communities doing the work on the ground, and help and working with them as partners, and not trying to come in and tell them what needs to be done, but working in thought partnership and collaboration with one another. That's so important in this work. And so, Rena, I wanted you to speak a little bit about that, with the Maverick Collective, and how you all are really engaging those local communities and those grassroots organizations to help close some of these gaps that we're seeing.
Absolutely. So I mentioned that Maverick Collective is based out of Population Services International, PSI, which is a 53-year-old global health organization working in 46 countries across the global South, with the aim of, achieving universal health care, and with a very strong focus on reproductive health and rights. So PSI has about 5,000 employees around the world. We're big. We're operating at scale, and we've been in country for anywhere from 25 to 50 years. 98% of our staff are local to the countries and regions where we work. So we're very locally led and globally connected. That's the power of PSI, and certainly the engine behind Maverick. So what's really beautiful about the Maverick experience is that when members join the collective and they're investing in PSI projects that are really designed to move the needle in women's health, first of all, those members get the opportunity to get proximate to the work, to the impact, and to the communities that the work is, hopes to impact, by working hand in hand with PSI colleagues on the front lines. And the way that all of PSI is structured is that projects, ideas, solutions, the work is designed by those who are closest to it, by leaders who are on the ground and in community every day, often from those communities. And so every single project or initiative that a Maverick member is funding has been designed at the local level, has a wraparound support of a global network of global health and public health experts from PSI, as well as all of our partner organizations and our donor organizations. And so you've got this kind of really beautiful relationship between where a donor is actually coming in and saying, I want to help you advance gender equity through women's health. You tell me what is going to be the most impactful, effective way for me to spend my dollar. And so in a way, we're kind of disrupting what you typically see in philanthropy, where donors are often calling the shots and kind of saying, here's the impact I want to see this much of time with this amount of money. And we are, slowly trying to reverse that by saying, okay, here is what we want to be able to do. We had flexible, multi-year capital that we were able to really get to the roots. Here's what we would like to do. And let's work with you, donor, on figuring out a way to make sure that your money is being as well spent as possible, and it is helping to achieve the vision and values you have for your philanthropy and your foundation, while also being the most strategic, effective, innovative use of capital that we could have at PSI. And I'll say, I mentioned how big PSI is, and we get a lot of funding from big donors, donor governments, big foundations, but it is the private philanthropy, it is the individual philanthropy, private capital, that even though it's small in number compared to the size of our other grants, it is the most flexible, the most creative, and it gives us the most ability to really try new approaches, new technologies, and working with populations that are often completely ignored by those traditional funders. So it's incredibly valuable to the organization, but it only works when we can stay true to our values of being led and designed by the communities who we work with, and bringing our donors in close proximity with them in an authentic way.
Locally led and globally connected. I love that. And we need more funders to have that mindset, that instead of that savior complex where you're coming in and telling the communities how they should use the funds or whatnot. I love the model you have. And I know, Beverly, with Together Women Rise, you all kind of have the same kind of same spirit of how you go about engaging with the communities.
You do.
You want to share a little bit more about that?
Yes, I'm happy to. So one of the things that we started a few years ago was our transformation partnerships. And those are grants, larger funding that we provide to address the root causes and systemic changes, which are, dealing with the laws, traditions, customs within countries. And we do know that it's going to take longer and more time. And what I like about it, using that trust-based philanthropy model, is that we work in partnership with our partners. So we're not telling them, this is how you're going to use $100,000. This is what you're going to do. We give them the money, we let them do the work, and then just check in with us and tell us how. The other ways that we engage our members is through monthly webinars. And what I love is that each grantee gets featured. So it's for the entire month. All of our chapters are talking about the specific grantee of the month, and they're featured through fact sheets. We use recipes, we have pictures, videos, and our chapters are all discussing that featured grantee for that month. Then we hold a national webinar where our members are invited to attend, and our featured grantee shares more information about their work, their hopes, their dreams, and then we allow our members to ask questions. All of these webinars are recorded and they're happening every single month. You do not have to be a member of a chapter to attend our national webinars. Additionally, we have book clubs. So we try to connect, again, the issues, the countries that we're focused on with books that also share more information about the culture, the economy, the different lives of the women and girls that we're trying to impact. And our book clubs also invite anyone to attend. You do not have to be a member of Together Women Rise or a chapter to do that. And then lastly, our travel program, which I love. We invite members of Together Women Rise to travel with us to the countries and the places that we fund. We learn about the culture, the economy, we learn about the politics, and then we visit our grantees, typically 4 grantees per trip. And if you can imagine, we also try to navigate to ensure that it's an enriching opportunity for the members and for the grantees, but we're not imposing, again, our hopes and dreams or our goals on them. And one of the different aspects that I also like is that we want to ensure that the experiences is socially responsible. So we also insist that the guides in every single country have to be women, because we're paying them and we're supporting and sowing into their economic well-being and their families' economic well-being as well. So annually, 3 or 4 trips around the world to visit our grantees. And I will tell you, I went on our India trip earlier this year. It was 2 weeks, fabulous, and none of us wanted to leave. It was just amazing to be with the girls. We visited schools, we visited them in their homes, and we talked to their families about their hopes and dreams for their daughters. And one of the things that we talked about on the bus was, we have the same hopes and dreams that they do. And it was powerful. I mean, most of us came back on the bus just sobbing. And so the girls were like, how can we come to America? Because they talked about their dreams. One young lady wants to be an attorney. And we talked about how can we connect her to an attorney in the United States so she understands what it's going to be like once she leaves India and comes to the US to pursue her dreams.
Beverly, I appreciate you sharing that, your personal testimony about that experience, because I truly believe that that's where we will start to see big shifts happen with funders when they are engaged. They see it, feel it for themselves, what's happening in the community with the people, hearing from them. So before I even go on to my next piece of my conversation, I want to open up to you, Jeannie, Sarah, Rena. If y'all also are saying, what have y'all, with the way that you're going about and engaging in these local communities and getting all of that information and being that proximity really matters. What's the benefits of that y'all have seen within your organization? Beverly just shared her own testimony of how it pulled at her heartstrings and her staff, but just wondering also, are y'all seeing similar transition mindset changes with your boards or within your organization or with some of your funders as you all are working so tightly and closely involved with these local communities?
Well, let me just say, at Women Moving Millions, we really, see ourselves as being a bridge from the funding ecosystem of the movement to the leaders at the community level, who are the ones who are actually, dreaming up, executing, designing all the social change strategies on the ground. And so our work through, donor education programs, through convening, is to bring those leaders in connection, conversation, partnership, relationship with our member community. And I think the real value of being able to do that is to allow the communities, those leaders on, at the grassroots level, to really surface for the funding community. What is it that we actually need? What do we need you to invest in, as opposed to there being a real communication disconnect? So what we do is we base principles and so forth of philanthropy already on this call. We really ask our membership to listen, and to approach the work with a sense of curiosity and humility, and take the time to really get to know where you're investing. And I think that goes for giving circles. And, where are you investing in your local communities? How are you getting to know the people who are in your backyard, and how are you in relationship? Because, these issues are too complex. And I think I hear this time and time from leaders on the ground. I don't want to do this alone. I am really looking for deep partnership and to be in deep relationship with funders, giving circles, donor collaboratives, whatever they might be. And so I think that's what we really try to impart in literally everything that we do, that we are able to really lift up the voices, ensure that that message is heard, and encourage our members to also think of themselves as being accountable and responsible to the movement. We so often think of, funders as like over here, right? Like you're over there. And it's like, no, you're actually part of this movement. And the responsibility associated with being part of the movement, you can only really understand how to execute that responsibility if you are in relationship with the leaders who are on the ground. And so that's what we try to do. I think we're doing a good job at it, I think.
Yeah.
But I think there's always more to be done. And we're always thinking about new ways that we can do that, and make sure that, thinking of how do those fiber optics of the movement really work, and what can we do to facilitate that?
That resonates with me so much, because even with my Giving Circle Heritage Giving Fund, we, as funders, we look at our grantees as partners.
Yeah.
They work in a lot. We are in this together, and for the more that we are proximate to them to better understand their needs, then the more we can amplify the impact of what it is that they really, really need to help them to scale, build their capacity, and do the work that they're doing. And so I hope that this strikes in some of the other funders out there that are really listening about the importance of that proximity and working with local communities, because that's a huge piece of the disconnect with philanthropy, is that we have to be in community with the people and allow those with the lived experience, those that are the closest to the issues, to have a say so in what's going on and how money and resources is being used and allocated in their community. So shout out to all the funders out there that are already doing that, Women Moving Millions, Maverick Collective, Heritage, WPI, Together Women, and others. Now, Jeannie, I wanted to talk, since we're talking so much about collaboration and working with local communities, and you touched a little bit about it, about just like corporations have a role to play on this. It really is true, though. Like, this work requires an ecosystem, y'all. Like, all hands on deck right now for women and girls, and supporting causes to for us to actualize and reach our highest potential. So, and that's one of the things I really honestly admire about WPI, even by just with the anchor partners and the Give to Women and Girls Day is a movement of collaboration and of community. And so I wanted you to speak speak to how you all are leveraging those collaborations and partnerships with these various stakeholders and government agencies and corporations, because a lot of us are thinking about how we can do the same in terms of bringing more people into our work.
Oh, thank you for that. Well, absolutely. So we often say at WPI that research is just the beginning. It's what you do with it that matters. And so we're really unique in this situation. We're the only research institute dedicated to the study of gender and philanthropy, but it's not research just for research's sake. We do want to see the research be useful to all the different audiences that we seek to have. So whether it's fundraisers or wealth advisors, or more importantly, advocates and donor and philanthropists, to really think about being more strategic and intentional and being centered in data. To help with that confidence, and so it's really important for us to be in community in collaboration with those folks, as we were just having this conversation, doing the frontline work. It's different than what my three fabulous female folks on the call with me are doing, in a way, because it is centered in the academy and we're centered around data, but without understanding how you need the research, that really helps to influence what we are looking at and what we are studying. And so, in particular, when I speak with leaders from women's and girls organizations, this one woman, this struck me. So if we think about these huge systems issues around misogyny and patriarchy, right? What will take to kind of help move gender equity and in this space, right? And she said, Jeannie, I don't really have a lot of problems raising money. I raise a lot of money. The issue I have is that I am raising money for programs where we're just teaching women and girls to survive. And I imagine what it might be like if I was raising that same amount of money for programs and initiatives that help women thrive. And so it really is, it's going to take everything. It's going to take all in. And so a lot of our research falls under three themes of how women give. So women give collectively, women give broadly, and women give holistically. And when we think about women and girls in that broadly piece, we've talked about it today. It's all the ties. It's the time, it's the talent, it's the treasure, those traditional T's. But it is the testimony. It is how you're being an advocate and you're showing up. It's your ties. It's how you're using your social capital and your social networks to create agency and change. And it's going to take all of it. In the Giving Circle movement in particular, we found giving circles so women started to give as just kind of an interest in, again, giving together, learned about their communities, in particular around women and girls, and then started to testify in front of their local governments and in their local state houses to change policy, because they understood. So like Sarah talked about, coming into philanthropy from an advocacy stage, these women came into philanthropy at a traditional philanthropy stage, right? They gave their $1,000 and it became a $10,000 impact. But then they learned about the problem, got proximate, and learned that we got to solve this upstream, and we've got to change the laws. Yes. And I think that's when we think about collaboration and partnership, I mean, we really understand from the research side how powerful that can be. So any way that we can continue to amplify and connect and inspire, we want to do that.
Yeah.
Do
Can I
you?
add something?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah, I
Beverly.
think the research also helps us. So
Yeah,
as we're
totally.
fighting those battles and we're arguing and trying to make change happen, having that research, that data behind us actually helps us. Whether it's advocacy, it's on the ground, it's with board of directors, it's with grants committee, that actually helps us and our members understand that there is validation behind the work that we're doing.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why I had Jeannie at the beginning. Run that statistic back. Tell us again, because they can say a lot of things. We're emotional, all the kind of stuff, but you cannot refute data. Like the data is telling us exactly what it is. And Jeannie, I feel you so much because like even when I joined my Giving Circle heritage, and I say this, it's part of my testimony, it changed my trajectory forever because I did enter in with the goal of one, I love my sisters. I wanted to be in community with them. It was amazing, dope women doing amazing things and pull our resources, and I wanted my gift to be amplified. But when I started learning, you get into community, and what happens is the diversity of the opinions. It just starts to unpack these all these light bulbs and such go off about the causes and things like that, and collectively it felt safe that I was being able to have learn about the issue, talk candidly about it, express my frustration, but then actually act on it as well. And so I think that for so many of you all that are out there and they're just looking like, well, how do I even just jump in and get involved? That is a start. Giving circles and being a part of collective giving groups, in my personal opinion, are like on-ramps for continued civic engagement. You want to know where to start? Start in a group, start in community.
Yes.
Find your community and get involved. And I promise you, it's just going to forever change your trajectory with how you move, and you will become more intentional, more strategic, more thoughtful about how you use your time, talent, treasure, and testimony to advocate for the things that you're passionate about. Woo, y'all got me fired up. And I know, okay, y'all, I have to say this. We started 5 minutes late because your girl internet was acting crazy. So we will go over to 3:05. I promise to have y'all in, but this is good conversation. I want to make sure we end on the way that we wanted it to. So, but speaking of trajectory changing and all of that, these next generation of women, they got next, y'all. I'm a millennial and I'm still in it, and all of us are still youngs. We're aunties, that what they would call it. That's what my daughter would call it. We're aunties now in the movement or something like that, right? So I'm thinking about even just the next generation of girls, y'all, that are looking at us, seeing how we're moving, seeing how we're organizing, how we're leading in our organizations, how we're talking, how we're speaking about these things, right? And I want to talk about that, about how we are holding ourselves accountable to invest, to empower the next generation of philanthropists that are right on our shoulders, that we need them. We need that energy. We need their advocacy. When you look back on all the big movements, civil rights movements, gender, like all those big, they were fueled by the youth. They were fueled by the passion and the fire of the youth. And so, what are your thoughts with that, freely, about how, whether you are personally, through your organization, what are your thoughts about us empowering the next generation, us passing the
Well,
baton?
for me, I would say it's paramount, because like within Together Women Rise, we're already having conversations about how do we bring in the next generation of young women to be a part of this movement, and we can't wait. To Rena's point about urgency and everything, the house is on fire. We have got to get them engaged. What we talk about within Together Women Rise, and we haven't figured it out yet, is that does our model encourage young people to get involved? And I am the mother of 3 young adult women, and I use them as my test case. And one of the things my girls said to me is like, so mom, we're not coming to monthly meetings. Our generation is interested in getting engaged and involved, but we want to give our money, see what happens, and then move to the next thing. So even within Together Women Rise, we've been having conversations about how do we engage them in a way that's meaningful for them, but still helps us continue our mission to support women and girls globally. One of the things that just happened, we had a trip to Tanzania in August, and it was the first time that we had 4 mother and daughter participants. And so we actually had a conversation about, should we plan intentional mother and daughter trips to our different travel sites around the world, so that again, they're engaged in learning, they're engaged in community, but then they actually get to see and be a part of the conversations that are happening on the bus or on the airplane, because we're traveling sometimes 4 or 6 hours to get from one grantee to the next. But then they're coming back, and I'm saying, so how can we now push and get them to become ambassadors and then take that mantle, if you will, and push and help us get to more young people? So that's some of the conversations that we're already having.
I'll jump in too, and I love that mother-daughter image, Beverly. It's so powerful. At Maverick Collective, we have about 50 women in the collective, and over half got started with us under the age of 45. Our youngest is 23, our oldest is 83. So it's a really multi-generational group. But we have built a model that really attracts those younger women who are just emerging, just starting out in their philanthropic journey. And a lot of that was and continues to be fueled by that urgency. So I'll be honest, like, we got a wave of next gen joining the collective after Donald Trump was elected, because this was a group of women that said, I want to put my money, and these are women who have a lot of money at their disposal, or who will be coming into a lot of money with that big transfer that Jeannie mentioned, who are like, I don't want to wait until the end of my career, or until, I'm in my 60s to get started. I want to get started now. But they also said, I want to get started in a way that where I can feel engaged in the work, roll up my sleeves. I've had a lot of young women say to me, I don't care about planning another gala or getting my name on a wall. Like, I want to get my hands dirty. I want to roll my sleeves. I want to learn by doing. And that's why I think a lot of Maverick's experiential approach has been so attractive. We actually have a specific program called Maverick Next, which is a giving circle model where we pull together a small circle of women who are just starting in their philanthropic journey. They co-invest in a project and then go on the full learning journey together. So they're traveling out to the field together. They're attending retreats together. We have a partnership with the Marshall Institute at the London School of Economics that delivers this kind of short course that we've curated around really introducing them into the philanthropic ecosystem, the social impact ecosystem, so they can better understand how to strategically use their private capital to kind of catalyze change across the system. And it's been a really wonderful opportunity for women who, they come from all walks of life, and they're going through this philanthropy experience at the same time that they're going through a lot of big life changes, right? They're like, maybe they're in or graduating from school, they're starting careers, they're getting married, they're starting families. And so a lot of beautiful friendships and relationships form that are not just about giving money away, but also reconciling and reckoning with the money that they're getting into, whether they're inheriting it or out there earning it, and how to bring that an equity lens to their wealth ownership and their philanthropy, which is something that we found our younger generations are really, really excited and moved to do.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I'll jump in real quick, and I'll just say, we have a next gen membership at Women Moving Millions. It's $250 over 5. And also see it as our responsibility, it's a movement strategy to prepare the next generation. So I think in addition to wanting to build a community of next gen philanthropists and to provide donor education related to that, I think another thing that we think really deeply about is just mentorship. And how can some of our members who are 30 years on their journey mentor some of the younger philanthropists as they're navigating in some kind, in oftentimes very similar issues around, like, how do I talk to my parents in the foundation board about how to move this money? And that is something that they've had to encounter in their lives, and they can impart that wisdom to the next generation so that they can do it everybody on this call wants them to do, which is move more money to women and girls and figure out a bigger piece of that pie in their family dollars. The other thing I would just bring to the table is, I think not waiting, right? Don't wait until, you're 25, 30 to talk to, a young person in your life, whether it's a child, a niece, a nephew, whatever it is, about the importance of giving, and, how giving is just such an essential part of building the civic fabric of our society and our democracy, and how can they be a part of that. And so I think those lessons should start really young, and then create the context with the amazing work at Maverick and Rise Up, etc. There's a lot of groups that are doing this to then be there to help the next part of their journey.
Yes.
I like that.
I like that a lot. And what I took away from all of your comments is like, with this next generation, we have to kind of get out the way a little bit in terms of like, they are telling us the ways and how they want to be engaged. And so meeting them, we always hear, this term, meet people where they are, but it's going to reign real supreme with this next generation. And the innovative ways and how they're going about engaging, right? So we do have to think outside the box. We were just talking about this, Jeannie, right? TikTok and all this other kind of ways, whatever, right? And so for us, it might seem like silly or whatever, but for them, it's real. And that's where their peers are at. And that's how they are processing and retaining information. I'm a mom of 5, and I have 2 girls, 22 and 14. And my 14-year-old, she recently applied for her first grant, y'all, from the Southern Black Girls Consortium.
Nice.
And so she got awarded a Black Girl Joy Grant. And
Nice.
I'm so excited for her. But I met her where she was at. And I had to catch myself, y'all, because at first when we were doing the proposal, I'm like, you should say this. But I had to back up and I had to say, let her do it. But that speaks to what we're talking about, of like, just, y'all, sometimes we got to get out the way, meet these girls where they are, listen to them, and then work with them to bring it to life. Well, I know my producer is like, okay, you need to wrap it up. I hear you, Ileana, and we are, but not before call to action. Y'all knew that was coming. Y'all had to know this was coming. Jeannie, you started us off. Big picture. Give to Women and Girls Day. Let's end on that note with how we are not just going to keep this conversation, these nuggets, and this good energy right here on this at this event. Y'all, this is in real life. We need to work. We got to pull up out of this, and we have to actually do something. And so, what are we going to do? But Jenny, you go first.
Back to taking a moment to movement. Really, really thinking about all the different ways that you want to express your generosity in support of women and girls, and knowing and being confident that investing in women and girls lifts all communities. So share Give to Women and Girls Day with your networks far and wide. Give to your favorite women's and girls organizations on Give to Women and Girls Day, and keep it going. Create a strategy where you are looking at using your philanthropy as agency, and doing it through a gender lens. That's my call to action.
Love it. What about you, ladies? Y'all have a call to action? We got a couple minutes.
I would just like to say that I don't want to exclude men, so that when we're talking about women and girls, sometimes the men are like, well, so what about us? We need men to be a part of the movement as well. And so I encourage the men, the boys who are part of any collectives to also support women and girls, because we need you and we need to work together.
All the Kens.
I know. I apply major pressure to my husband for that reason. Yes. What about you, Sarah?
I mean, I feel like this whole call is one awesome call to action. I would just say, just get started. Just start, and do it with joy.
I'll just round it out and say, and find a community, find a circle, find a tribe. It doesn't even have to be like an official structured thing. Grab a friend and do it together. But it brings the joy and the love and the humanity that is the origin of philanthropy back, and it is a way that you can learn and grow together.
Well said.
And if you want to find a tribe or start a tribe, then please, y'all, here at Philanthropy Together, we can train you how to start a giving circle and have resources for your existing giving circle. And so please check out philanthropytogether.org, y'all, for our Lunch Pad for You program. I facilitate the training every single month, and we're training individuals how to start these giving circles. And I echo the sentiments and the call to action of all of the other panelists that on Give to Women and Girls Day and just 365, really, y'all consider women and girls when you give, and just do it wherever your heart feels pulled to. And I'll be remiss if I didn't again mention my giving circle, Heritage Giving Fund. We are totally open to anyone giving to our organization as we really invest in women and girls in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are in grassroots organizations that are doing the work here. So y'all, thank you so much. This is
Thank you.
Sarah, Jeannie, Rena, Beverly. I love y'all, and I give y'all flowers today and all days for the work that we are doing. We are in this together. I love the spirit and the women supporting women energy always. And so I appreciate y'all so much for being here for this timely conversation. Thank you all in the audience for all the love. It's so much love in the chat. And we appreciate y'all staying over with us for these extra 5 minutes. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day and hope to see you back here next month on LinkedIn Live for the next collective conversations, y'all. Take good care of yourself.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.